Hello and welcome to the 2017 Personal Health Summit. If you're looking to become healthier and happier than you've ever been before, then you've come to the right place. The Personal Health Summit features an international collaboration of leading doctors, scientists, researchers and health ambassadors, all working to change the conversation and transform world health. Every expert here is to share with you their knowledge, wisdom and expertise to help you learn, grow and become empowered to make informed choices and take control of your health and your life. Our mission, first and foremost, is to help you recognize that you are unique, that there are many different avenues to achieving and maintaining optimal health, and that there is one that's right for you at this very moment in time. Being informed is being empowered. And when you have the right information, you have the power to change your health, your happiness, and your life. The Personal Health Summit is made possible by the generous support of the Ultimate Human Foundation, who's committed to educating and empowering people all over the globe to be proactive about their personal health, providing truly personalized health solutions for every human being on the planet with accessibility and affordability, and orchestrating and nurturing a global gathering of the world's key health experts and thought leaders at the vanguard of their respective fields, where solutions can be found to transform the future health of humanity. The Personal Health Summit is also made possible by PH360.me, the world's most advanced health assistant that interacts with you via your smartphone, just like a best friend who can calculate the best nutrition and lifestyle choices to most favorably and easily influence your unique hormones, genes, and personal state of health, empowering you to make easy, accurate lifestyle decisions to improve your sleep, energy, mood, weight, digestion, and well-being.
Thank you all for joining us today. My name is Dr. Sophia Godkin, and I am delighted to host a special interview for the 2017 Personal Health Summit. And my guest is none other than Matt Riemann. For those who don't know Matt is a social entrepreneur in the fields of personalized health and future medicine. A heart-centered visionary, Matt is focused on changing the health trajectory of the human race. He orchestrates a global collaborative vision to revolutionize the concept of health as we know it and facilitate personalized, predictive, and preventive health change around the world. Matt holds a master's in applied human sciences, is a lecturer and clinical educator at several universities in Australia and in the United States, and has been recognized for his passion and excellence in educating doctors, health professionals, and fitness experts globally over the last 15 years. In 2013, Matt founded the Ultimate Human Foundation, a nonprofit with a mission to transform world health and assist in eliminating chronic pain and disease from the planet. Matt has founded 7 businesses in health and medicine over the past decade, launching PH360.me, the world's first smart health app based on personalized epigenetics and gene expression, and most recently Shay, the world's first virtual health assistant to deliver interactive, intuitive, and personalized insights for health and wellness. Matt Riemann, welcome to the Personalized Health Summit.
Thank you so much, Sophia. It's great to be here, and I'm really excited for this conversation today.
Thank you, as am I, and I'm sure all the viewers as well. So just to get started here, Matt, I would love to hear about what brought you to this specific point in time. What was your personal journey and perhaps professional journey that brought you to be doing what you're doing so tirelessly and so effortfully on behalf of individual and world health?
Well, it's a pretty big question, Sophia. I'll do my best just to navigate through that. I've been on a very interesting journey myself, and I started with my feet firmly planted in Western medicine. I spent a lot of time studying science in bachelor and masters of applied human sciences, and spent many, many years studying very different therapies and working with very high level athletes and other people in that space to find out, I guess, how we could get the most out of the human body. And it was about almost 12 years ago now, where I was working at, I was teaching medical doctors internationally. I was working in really, really great capacity with lots of, I guess, the important people around the world. And one day I just woke in excruciating pain and I couldn't breathe, I couldn't move. I thought I was having a heart attack. And after many, many years actually of consulting the leading gurus in science and medicine, I was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And this is something that for me was a very big shock. And I was arguably one of the most healthiest guys alive on the planet, I thought, at that stage or the day beforehand. And so this led me down a really interesting journey to connect with a lot of the world's best to try and get some answers, initially selfishly to my own health issues, but also to help understand what was behind what was going on for me. And so for me specifically, it turned out that I had a gene mutation, that I had certain things in my body that weren't working so well. But on the surface, I looked really healthy and I felt great until this happened. And so this probed a lot of questions about saying, well, how do we know how healthy we are on the inside? And I spent a lot of time in fields of neuroscience trying to figure out if it was my brain or my mind that was contributing towards my pain. I spent a lot of time going down the medical route, looking at different tests and biomarkers specifically, and different genes that were there that were available or not available. And this is a field that we end up spending a lot of time in called epigenetics. And this conversation is about the things in our lifestyle that actually influence the way our genes are switched on or off. And for me specifically, my TTR gene was one of my main genes that was involved in my condition. And so I was very interested to find out what things could actually switch off my TTR gene or have it not express, so that I may not have the same symptoms that I had. And so we ended up with an incredible connection, a massive international collaboration of a lot of leading doctors and scientists and specialists around the place to try and answer these questions. And one of the most incredible things that we discovered along the way was that these principles are actually the same for everyone. And the principles are that it's different for you. It's the particulars specifically that you need to look at for your own personal health, but the principles are the same. And the principles are that there's these things in our lifestyle that actually change the way our genes work. And these are the things that, like our food that we eat, the exercise that we do, the people that we hang out with, the climate that we live in, the amount of stress that we're under, the amount of sleep that we get. So all these things that are in our lifestyle actually influence our genes, and our genes determine our health status at any point in time. And so for me specifically, I was able to find out which things in my environment and lifestyle I was able to change, and then that was able to successfully switch off my genes that were causing my issues, and I was able to relieve my symptoms. And so this is something where I am extremely lucky. I consider myself to be extremely lucky, but this was incredible, this discovery, if you like, and these concepts and philosophies to say, you know what, health is personalized. It's different for everybody. The standard management that I was having for many years wasn't working. I saw every specialist that was, anyone who's the who around the world. I tried every exclusionary diet under the sun. I did everything that many people probably listening to this today have done, and it didn't work. And so I just needed to find out what was right for me specifically. And this is something that led to us working in a really large capacity to say, how can we actually help everyone in the world understand this? How can we actually find out for each person specifically what things would influence their genes in a really good way or not in a good way? And how can we help them understand that so they can then have a choice? Much like I felt very, it's an interesting time to be feeling very helpless, that you don't know what to do. You try everything. You can just try and ask the experts for the best in their opinion. But unfortunately, what we know is that we don't know everything. And so if we can find a way to actually collaborate with everything that we do know and bring everyone together, almost like having every single doctor and neuroscientist and geneticist and molecular biologist and everyone in the same room at once to be able to help you and to all be on the same page and in sync, this is essentially what we're able to do. And this led us to creating a technology that's able to support that very conversation. And again, the personalized conversation, the principles and the philosophies are exactly the same for everyone, which is really exciting. It's just the particulars that are different for everyone. And so for me, I was able to successfully navigate that. And I'm really happy to be healthy and happy and alive today. And I'm really excited that we were able to share this same conversation now with many people around the world. And as you know, and as many people who are on the summit know, that we're now in over 100 countries with this technology and helping change tens of thousands and more of lives. So it's a very exciting time to be alive. And I'm just very grateful that I'm able to be here sharing what I'm sharing for my own personal journey, but also really grateful that these conversations are now available for everybody else to really discover what's really great for them, for their body, for their environment and lifestyle, and to really be in a position where they're empowered now, where we have choice. And once we have choice, we can really make some great decisions in our life and have the life that we're here to choose.
What a beautiful message, Matt. Thank you so much for sharing your personal journey with us, and for also relating that back to how each of us can really get into the driver's seat of our own health and our own life and take charge of the changes that need to happen. I'd love to ask you your perspective on this epidemic of chronic disease that we see happening in the world, and that only seems to be growing. So from this perspective of epigenetics and all the things you just mentioned now, and many other things that I'm sure you have in your awareness, what do you think is the solution to these epidemics that we see happening in this day and age?
It's a really good question, Sophia. Well, I think one of the big things to understand first and foremost is that every disease that happens, there's a cause for it. This may be an internal cause that's there. It may be a process or a system in the body that's not working so well, or it may be an external cause, which is maybe to do with pollutants or to do with changes in the environment that aren't so healthy for you. And so really, to answer this conversation about chronic disease, first we need to understand that the huge epidemic and growing exists because of a lot of the things that happen in our external environment, and also the things that happen internally that we're not aware of. So for us to be able to answer how do we change that conversation, which is really the question here, we need to first understand that each person is different. And that really is, if we can just do that, we're so far along the way. And so first and foremost, there's 7.5 billion people on the planet, and not one single person's the same. We're all different, we're all unique. We all have different environments, we'll have different lifestyles, we'll have different genes, we have different things that influence our body and our internal chemistry in different ways, which equals we're either healthy or we're in a space of disease or heading that way. And so if we can first identify that for each individual as to what their unique biochemistry is like, what their unique environmental circumstances and their lifestyle circumstances are like, then we can have a conversation. And so the first thing is always awareness. And again, so awareness that we're unique and awareness of what's actually happening in our space at that point in time. So once we're aware, we then get to choose. So once we are at that point of making a choice, this is where it really becomes important. These work that we've been doing for almost 15 years now to help people understand what choices they have. And this is something that this isn't going down the track of heavy medications and other things like that. It's just about saying, what sort of lifestyle choices do you have that can change yourself in a big way? And there's some really, really incredible evidence that's been gathering over the last few decades about lifestyle medicine. And essentially this is saying, how can we interact through food, through exercise, through other stress choices, through sleep, meditation, other things like that are very natural processes in our body, the things that we do daily or can do daily. And there's such strong evidence now about lifestyle medicine and how that can influence and change and even reverse a lot of the chronic disease states that exist just through lifestyle medicine. And so what we're able to do now is to be able to provide that information for each person in a very, very accurate way based on their detailed genetics, if you like. And so this is a conversation now that once we're aware of each individual, we then have the choice. And once the information's there, we can then choose the things that are going to keep us healthy and choose to avoid the things that are going to put us in a disease state. This conversation about chronic disease epidemics actually needs to scale down to the individual. And that's where we're kind of missing things at the moment a lot in the conversations, is we're trying to put in a lot of the generic health practices. We're trying to have conversations at government levels and at the big organizational levels. And we're forgetting that everyone's different. We can't just put in one process or one protocol or one change that happens that's going to reduce things. We have to actually talk to each individual. And the beauty of what we have right now in this day and age is we have technology, and the combination of technology, the biotechnology specifically, as well as the science and medicine understandings that we have, really means we're able to answer that question in a scalable way. We can actually talk to tens and hundreds of millions of people at the same time, whereas before, going back even just a few decades, it was a one-on-one consult. It was very difficult, it was very hard. Now we're able to combine the best minds in the world and the best artificial intelligence and technology that's there to be able to deliver this to every single person as they need to hear it. And this is a really, really exciting time. So it's not just possible, it's actually probable that we're actually going to be changing the conversation in a big, big way very, very soon. And all it takes is for us to be aware. So once we're aware, again, we have the choice. Once we have the information for what's good for us, we get to choose the right things. And as we said before with lifestyle medicine, the things that are in our lifestyle are very, very choosable. We actually get to choose what food we put in our mouth or what we don't. We get to choose how we move our body or if we don't. We get to choose who we hang out with or who we don't. We get to choose how we perceive our stress. We get to choose how we think. We get to choose where we live. We get to choose all these things. And this is a really, really exciting time to know that we're 100% empowered now through lifestyle medicine to change our health status at any point in time. Not just our health, but also preventative health for the future. But also if we're in a state of disease right now, we can work towards reversal of a lot of those things. And this is the exciting, a lot of the exciting studies that are being done right now and that we're involved in as well internationally with a lot of great universities. We're now doing studies, a lot of these studies with lifestyle medicine, with epigenetics, with phenotypology at universities through the United States, through Europe, through Australia. And we've got some great exciting studies underway that we're really excited to see the results of coming out soon. But this is something that's already out there changing tens of thousands of lives and already showing clear reversals of heart disease, diabetes, obesity, all the most common and high profile, high risk disease states that are contributing towards our chronic disease that we're so concerned about right now. So I think there's a lot of hope, which is really great, but the conversation really has to come down to personalised conversations. And the more we talk about generic health and population health, the more we're still living a bit of an old paradigm where understanding that that conversation doesn't work so well anymore. It was a really great conversation a few decades ago, but now we're here in 2017, almost 2018, and the conversation really needs to be about each person because it's just all the community is, or all a whole state or country or even the globe is just a gathering of individuals. And so we have to really understand that and realize that and say, well, let's look at each individual to change population health, as opposed to saying, hey, let's have a generic approach. So it's an exciting time. The information is now available for each person. The technology is here to be able to scale that. And for those, I know you're aware, Sophia, but we're having some really great conversations now at the high levels with that. We're consulting with many governments around the world, in China, in Dubai, in Australia, in North America, in South America, Singapore. So we've got some really, really great conversations that we're having in this space right now at a very high level. We're consulting with the United Nations, with the World Health Organization. So a lot of things are happening, but we're also aware that change takes a while at the top-down approach. And for us to be able to change world health in a big way, we're going to need to have a much quicker, more efficient conversation. And that's where we can speak just directly to each individual. And that's some of the technology that we do have available now, which obviously most people are aware of by now on the summit, called PH360 and SHAE. And that the intention and the purpose behind that technology is to be able to make health affordable and accessible for everyone in the world, but to be able to give people the information about what they can do for lifestyle medicine. So again, we can make them aware of who they are. We can make them aware of how different they are. And then we can give them information so they can make the choice. So this doesn't now need to be a conversation where we sit around and blame or shame or wait on our insurance companies or our government or our school systems or whatever else is there to change. We can actually change right now, because starting today or tomorrow, you get to choose, again, what food you put in your mouth, the way you move your body, who you hang out with, how you think. You get to choose that yourself. It doesn't require a top-down approach for that. So we're really excited to share this message, and I'm really excited that there's so many incredible people here on this summit and listening to this right now. So thank you so much for dialing in if you have been, because we do this because we actually can make a difference in your life and everyone else's life that you love around you right now, your friends and family. So that is an exciting time to be having these big conversations with people, but we're also aware that change takes quite a long time in the organizational space, and it doesn't need to be another 5 to 10 to 15 years before this is implemented throughout the world. This can happen right now in your very own home, starting today. So I'm really excited for this conversation at Summit, and if you haven't already gone and checked out PH360, please do. PH360.me. It's an incredible technology that's here that we've designed and we've created over the last 15 years with a whole bunch of the most incredible medical doctors, scientists, health ambassadors, researchers from all around the globe. And this is here just for you. We do this because we care. We do this because we're here to change the world. And we really hope that you guys can take advantage of that right now, because you do have the answers that are here. So please go and seek that out, because you changing your life means that we can change the world.
Another beautiful message, Matt. Thank you. I couldn't agree more with what you last stated as us being empowered and really being in control of our own health. And, I really want to leave the viewers today with that feeling and that empowerment, that state of empowerment. And I would love it if you could share with us some maybe anecdotal examples or any scenarios that you're aware of people who have gained this awareness that you speak of, decided that they are ready to make the choice to become healthy, to find out what is right for them as a unique individual, and have reaped the benefits. Is there anything like that you can share with us today to leave people in a very empowered, very willful place, ready to make the change for themselves?
Yeah, there's tons and tons, Sophia. I think I don't know how long this interview is going to go for, but there's so many. We're inundated with comments and testimonials and these people who've just had their life completely changed. And sometimes it's people they stopped eating carrots. Sometimes it's people they stopped eating kale. All these foods that we consider as the really healthy foods, for example, aren't so healthy for some people at some points in time. And so it's really an exciting time to understand what's behind the technology that's there, to understand how different your unique biochemistry is and how different foods. There's an area of science that's called nutrigenomics. So it looks at how food interacts with your genes, for example. And that's individual for everybody. And so if everybody in the world ate kale, for example, some people might be super, super healthy from it. Some people may have like minimal health benefits. Some people might not make a lot of difference, and some people might make things worse. So this is a new paradigm conversation that we're having now to understand that it's not about the food that you eat. And this is how we've approached things so far, where the food is, I guess the center point of the conversation. We can talk about kale, we can talk about carrots and tomatoes and how incredible everything is for us. And here's all the nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals and the phytonutrients and everything that's here that's great for us. That's how we have our conversation today. But the conversation paradigm is shifting a lot from that. That, again, is a very outdated way to look at things. And so we're now shifting that conversation to say, well, actually, that's all well and good, but how does that interact with me? How does a tomato, or how does kale, or how does a carrot interact with my unique biochemistry and my unique biology? Because that's actually the conversation that matters. And so that's when we can really understand how to shift the needle on a lot of these things. And so people, where they're just changing very simple things, very simple habits, like just maybe a couple of different food items, some people that are exercising at a different time of day and even just doing the same exercise are having significant shifts in the most incredible things. People from hair falling out through to sleeping straight through the night, reducing fatigue, stress, like digestion completely cleared up. This is usually in a matter of days by understanding personalized medicine. And it's really incredible. Essentially, PH360 is personalized medicine for the layperson. And you don't have to know anything about health. You don't have to understand anything about health. It's just the information that's there for you. And so we have the most incredible life-changing stories for people that come through, people that have been in anxiety, depression. We had people that have been through in very severe states of health with chronic pain that's been there for 10, 20, 30 years, with arthritises, people with heart disease, people with diabetes, people with cancer, complete reversal of all these signs and symptoms that have been happening through lifestyle medicine changes. And so no matter, I guess the biggest thing I'd love to share with you, whoever's watching this right now, is wherever you are at this point in time in your state of health, it doesn't really matter, because you can change anything and everything. And you are empowered to change that. You just need to know what to do. Again, be aware there's a choice, and then be aware of the information, and then make the choice that you want to make. And you get to choose you. And so anyone, no matter where you're at in your health journey, you can always start now. And we know that our genes change. They switch on and off. We all have about almost 25,000 genes. And it's incredible, all these genes that sit in each of our cells. And in fact, our DNA that sits in, and we're not going to go into too much of the heavy science on this conversation, but our DNA that sits in, and our DNA wraps around these proteins in all of our cells, and it determines if our genes are switched on or off. And so what happens with that is that the amount of DNA that we actually have in each of our cells, and if we're talking about a cell nucleus, if we pulled a hair off our head, if I had some hair, I'd pull it off, cut it into about 10 pieces, and it's that small. And there's about 3.5 or 3.2 billion base pairs of DNA that's in each of those cells. If we pulled it all out and stretched it out, it'd be about 6 foot long in each one of those cells. And you have trillions of cells in your body. In fact, if you pulled all of your DNA out and extended it out into a long line, it'd be about 67 billion round trips to the moon, I believe, is what we're looking at, the stats on that these days. So there's so much information that we have in our body, in our unique little cells in every part of us. And this is an incredible conversation that we have at the cellular level about epigenetics and how do we actually change certain genes that switch on and off. But we now know that every couple of seconds to a couple of minutes, our genes are switching on or off, or on or off. And that's determined by our environment and our lifestyle. The climate, if we're in a cold climate or a warm climate, our genes actually switch on or off differently. If we are under stress or not under stress, our genes switch on and off differently. If we eat certain foods, our genes switch on and off differently. If we exercise in different ways, our genes switch on and off differently. And it's these switching on and off of our genes that causes our health at any point in time. And so that's really the key here, is to say you are empowered, literally, no matter where you're at in your health journey, you can change the way your genes are switched on and off in a very, very short space of time. So it's really exciting to know that we all have the opportunity to do this, and we have the information available, again, to know what to do and the choices to make. So no matter who you are, you have choice. You can be completely empowered to say, I can change my health status. I just need to know where to start. And so please go and check out ph60.me if you haven't already, because that is the place to start. It'll give you all the information you need to start on that lifestyle medicine journey. And of course, there's an incredible network of medical doctors, of health practitioners that are there to support you, that understand personalized medicine if you need some extra support and help as well. We have the most incredible network of health coaches all around the world that are just waiting there to help in whatever capacity it's there. So it's an exciting time to be alive, and it's an exciting time to be able to understand this about your health. It's personalized, you're different, you're unique, you can't do, you can't think, you can't act, you can't even eat what your brothers and sisters or parents are eating. You can't eat and think about what you're the same as what your friends are, because you're different to them. And so the more we can understand that, the more exciting and empowered we can be, and the more understanding about literally the potential to completely change our lives, all of us, each and every one of us, whether we're in a good state of health now, what we consider a good state of health, which is something that we look at on the surface usually. We look in the mirror, if we look good, if we're not too overweight, if we're happy with how we look, we think we're healthy. If we don't have any symptoms, we think we're healthy. But how do you know what's going on the inside? For me, I had no idea. I thought I was the healthiest guy alive. I didn't know what was happening on the inside of me. So please go and look at this sort of technology, find out how healthy you are on the inside, and you can either prevent these things from happening in the future now through lifestyle medicine, or you can use lifestyle medicine to start to reverse any state of health that you may have, heading back towards the natural state of health that your body wants. So again, that's probably the best I can share, Sophia. There's so many incredible stories of people, but for each person listening to this, just know that you can change anything to do with your health trajectory right here, right now, starting now.
Thank you, Matt. I think we're all sitting right now in a position of empowerment and of looking forward definitely towards the future. And a conversation I really like to have is, in fact, about the future. And I'm wondering, as I'm sure many of our viewers are, as to what your thoughts are about how we can transition into a future where this is the norm, where people understand that we are all unique, that we are all different, and that our health needs aren't one size fits all. What do you see as far as the future in terms of our health and medicine, our courses, and also in terms of how we educate our children and how we bring up the next generation?
That's a really good question as well, Sophia. So this is a really big conversation that we're exploring a lot right now. And the underpinning essence is that we understand more about the way that we act as humans. As you're aware, Sophia, as a psychologist and health psychologist, that a lot of the choices that we make are due to the way that our brain is wired. And even more than that, it's more due to how our mind is programmed. And so to answer some of these bigger questions, like how do we change humanity, how's the future going to be, we really have to go into the future to be able to see what's different. And so this is a conversation that we've been having a lot around the place at the moment. We've been meeting with some really great, bigger organizations like Facebook and other sort of bigger companies like Red Bull, and talking about human potential, talking about what's possible, but particularly going to the future and saying, how would the future look in 2050, for example? And so when we go into the future, we can sit there and see how different things are. We can understand the incredible exponential growth of technology, of artificial intelligence that's going to be well and truly adopted. Everybody who's listening to this right now, if you have kids or have friends with kids, you know that the kids, 3-year-olds will pick up an iPad and a phone and be able to know how to use it better than what someone who's 30 or 40 or 50 will. Kids are very intuitive in that these days. Technology isn't going away, no matter what anyone's opinions or thoughts on it are. It's very much here to stay. So what we're trying to say is, how can we harness technology for a great conversation? How can we use this machine learning and this artificial intelligence in a really encouraging, harmonic way, as opposed to something that needs to be scary? And how would the world look in the future? And so if we go to the 2050 conversation, we understand that technology is very supportive and assistive in the way that we make our decisions. It can help us understand how our state of health is at any point in time. It can help make lifestyle choices for us in advance. It can help really support us being a healthy, happy individual and a healthy, happy humanity, which is really exciting. It also brings the conversation about how our minds are at that point in time, how we perceive the world, what's important to us, how we choose to act, how we choose to think. And again, this is really highlighted by the difference between saying, well, we'll understand that maybe eating a Big Mac, for example, isn't the healthiest thing for us, and an apple would be a better choice. Yet you could go to McDonald's or any burger place and see bazillions of people putting hamburgers in their mouth and sitting there saying, if you ask them the question, hey, did you know an apple is healthier than the hamburger? They'd say, yep, I know, but I just made this choice anyway. So logically, it doesn't really make any sense, because we would want to choose the healthy option, but for some reason we don't. And this is where our mind comes into this. This is the way that we make our choices. And so this is a really big conversation that we're exploring a lot at the moment and doing some really great research on with some really, really cool people around the world to say, how can we quantify our mind in a better way? How do we understand more about our mind? And how can we actually lead ourselves to programming our minds or understanding our minds in a better way that we can make those good choices and have them be really great choices that we make? And so in the future, we're very much understanding that this is a few generations down the track, that as our kids are growing up, even the millennials right now, they think very, very differently to the baby boomers, they think differently to Gen X. Even they're very open. They're not so scared about their privacy and their data and all this sort of stuff. They're very happy to share things. They're very, very different in terms of the way they look at politics. In fact, they have a very carefree approach to politics compared to baby boomers who sit there and talk about politics and the state of the world all day. The millennials don't care anywhere as much about that, even about currency. It's about saying, they're not here trying to save up for things. They're not trying to invest in stock markets. They don't really care much about the stock market. If there's money that comes in, they're very happy to spend it because they want a great quality of life. They want to enjoy life. So this is something that is really interesting time to say, imagine what's going to happen with millennials' kids and how they're going to have a different way that they see the world. And then what about their kids and their children and how they see the world in a very different way. So we're shifting what we talk about in the conversation of consciousness, shifting more towards a very conscious conversation for the younger generations as we come through. And we're really excited about that. So really understanding, saying in the future, people will be much more open to these great choices that are happening in that space in 2050, for example. And they'll be understanding that there's actually a really solid reason that they're here. And what we're finding most importantly out of everything, which is fascinating, is the millennials and the younger generations are very, very interested in the conversation about meaning and about purpose. And they want to do things that are actually meaningful. They don't want to get, just do the job to make money, because they're not as focused on that as us older generations have been, because that's the sort of belief systems that we've had is, what I refer to as the fame and fortune model, is that we grow up and we have to, we go through school, we go through university. That's always encouraged in our Western worlds because, why? Because if we're more educated, we can make more money. We can do something that's getting a better job. Maybe we try and be doctors or lawyers or, the higher paying jobs because that's more successful, right? That's how we define success, is this fame and fortune model. And we all want to be well known, or we all want to be having lots, for Ferraris or houses or whatever it might be for this purpose. But the younger generations don't have that same definition of success. Their definition of success is much more towards, a more divine paradigm, if you like, of health and happiness, more meaning and purpose. And so this conversation is really interesting. And one of the things that we've been exploring, this is a little bit, slightly left wing for this conversation, but I think it's important because we explored this in a very scientific way. We've been saying, well, what is it about that's very common about the world's major religions that are out there? And well, they all believe in something that's greater than the human experience. Every religion accepts that. There's something more than us in this sack of skin, this whole bunch of cells. There's more to this experience of life than just what's here. There's something else out there. Everybody kind of labels it differently and calls it something different, but there's something greater than us. And everyone also believes that there's something more to the human journey, or more than the human journey. When we die, we continue to live, whether that's in our spirits, whether that's if we go to heaven or hell, or we're reincarnated, whatever it is for the different religions and their different belief systems. There's something that's part of our journey that comes before us and goes after us. There's a place that's considered more than just this actual life. We all understand that every human is born and we die. We have a life expectancy. This isn't a morbid chat, but everyone on this call will die at some stage. And this is just a human experience. We're all aware of that. We often don't have conversations outside of that, though. So this is a really interesting time scientifically that these conversations are being explored. And what that means is essentially there's some sort of spiritual conversation about why we're in this body right now. And so we're very interested to say, well, what if there's a purpose? What if this biology that we have right now, what if this body was actually designed for something, for some purpose, there's some meaning, there's some reason why we're on this planet. It's not just a coincidence. It's not just the fact that we're born and we die for no reason. There's some reason why we're on the planet. And if that's the case, then maybe we can find out what that reason is. Maybe there's the meaning and purpose that these millennials and so many more people in the consciousness conversations are having. Maybe there's a way that we can actually help track that or understand that or quantify that. And so this is a really interesting time that we're actually exploring biology and seeing what's in our cells and our DNA, and seeing if we can match a conversation about what's happening in there and what's connected to this meaning and purpose. And so what we're actually doing right now, and this is a very early conversation, but we're doing some pilot communities of some people who are actually living by their biology, almost as this meaning and purpose conversation. And this is some research that we're doing at the moment, and we're tracking and measuring this in different communities around the world to actually see what would happen. What if this information is already in our biology, and what would that be? And so essentially, how would that be telling us what we'd be doing about our days? And this is a conversation that we can actually understand right now. And this is a scientific conversation that we have in sort of various capacities, but we can understand about our internal biochemistry. We understand about our genes that we have. We understand about our hormones that are most dominant. We understand about our brain regions that are most active. And we can piece all this information together to understand what we're naturally good at, what we naturally like to do, the natural language that we'd use, the way we'd naturally behave and act. So we actually have all this conversation already in science and medicine that we can actually already quantify today. And that this is all accepted science and medicine that's out there. So we can have these conversations about that today, about what we're capable of, about what we're naturally in flow of. And so this is leads to this conversation. This is going to come back full circle in a minute. Don't worry. Excuse me. But the conversation is about saying, what is it about our biology that can tell us how we could be in flow? And this state of flow that's a very interesting conversation essentially means, what can we do that means we're naturally doing what we love doing? What can we do to get out of bed in the morning and feel incredible because we're doing exactly what we feel like? We feel like we're on purpose. We feel like we have meaning in our lives. We feel like we're really connected with humanity, or really on purpose here. So this conversation here is dictated or determined by our biology, and this is what we're exploring right now. What if our biology could actually tell us how to be in flow? What sort of things? And as it turns out, so far in our pilot data, our biology and what has us in flow is the same lifestyle medicine choices as what would show to actually reverse disease states or to actually be in a health state. And so this is really interesting, where there's conversations about body and mind and spirit and those sorts of conversations. But we're actually looking at the science of this right now to say that there is real strong correlations between what we do as a health lifestyle medicine approach and how this actually has people be in a flow state and how they actually feel and perceive their feelings, not just subjectively, but objectively, based on hormones, based on gene expression. So really interesting conversations now to actually look at how we can be in flow and how that flow can actually have us connect with our meaning and purpose as to why we're actually here on the planet. So this is the reason why I share this. It's a very big, broad conversation right now, but we're studying this because it's an important conversation about the future of humanity. Because if we really believe that if we're in flow means that we're going to have to approach things very, very differently to how we do in this current day and age in 2017. This might be everything from work, for example. So in our workspace, at the moment, I would wear a hat if I'm going to be a manager, or if I'm going to be a sales consultant or a CEO, or whatever my hat's going to be. And that would be a job that I have to go to. Now, that's not naturally who I am. So maybe some part of the day I would be playing that role, but maybe another part of the day I'm playing a role as a father, maybe another part of the day as a friend, maybe another part of the day as a husband, maybe another part of the day as someone who's just out having fun and helping people. So for me, naturally in my day and my daily routine, I have this biorhythm that flows and changes and flow as I go. I can't just be in this one box of here's what I need to do for 8 hours at work, for example, during the day, or outside of the work, here's the one thing I should be. And so we're often really confused about things in our Gen Xers and our baby boomers to say, who am I? What label am I? Am I a husband? Am I a father? Am I a CEO? Like, what is my role? And what does that mean for me? In the future, that's going to change a lot, because we're not going to be attached to these just set labels or in a box. We're going to be saying, well, we understand that the human experience is very adaptable, changes very regularly. We know this now through our science. We're going to need to be different people and play different roles throughout a day. And so whatever I'm going to do, whether it's a work-related thing or whether it's at home life, whether it's something to do with education or health, that we're going to change regularly. And so we really see that the combination of technology and understanding human potential and human psychology and understanding more about the mind, in the future, we're probably going to have a lot of communities that are going to be flowing around, that are going to be changing. It's going to be very different to now. And the reason why I share all this is that this is the conversation from 2050. When we go to 2050, we're seeing that, the way that we even go to work and the things that we are engaged in is very different. We're going to be much more into our meaning and our purpose and being in flow individually and collectively in 2050 than we are right now, where we've just got boxes set up based on where we go to work and we just want to make a lot of money for whatever purpose that's there. It's going to be very, very different in the future. The way we interact with people is very, very different. The way that we approach our health conversation is very, very different. The way that we look at the currency system and politics is going to be completely different. So the 2050 conversation is a very, very different world that we live in. And some of us on this call who are listening here might not be here in this human body right now in 2050, and some others will be. And we're going to see a lot of change, just like it was only just a few decades ago before we had our iPhones in our hand and before we had the internet that even existed. Today, we can't even imagine life without it. This is only a few decades ago, people. It's not very long. So in a few more decades' time, the world itself on this exponential curve is going to be very, very different. And so for us to be able to prepare for what's coming in the future, this is the really interesting research that we're doing right now, is to saying, what if we could bring 2050 to now? What if we could actually have some pilot communities that lived this, from this biology, that actually lived and tracked through this meaningful, purposeful conversation and lived in flow each and every day, what would actually happen? What if these people were just part of a contribution towards humanity, as opposed to saying, you know, how do I make money and how do I get my Ferraris and my houses? What if they just contributed their natural genius and their natural gifts towards things, and would that be something that would just work? This is just a new consciousness paradigm that's existing out there, and it's a really interesting time to be having these conversations. We've got some really incredible partnerships and incredible research that we're doing all around the world with this right now to try and help answer these questions. And so if anyone's listening to this and you're interested in this conversation or be part of this conversation, then please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. The best way to go to there would be support@ph360.me, and just let us know if this is a conversation that resonates with you, because we believe it's really important to have these conversations right now. We believe it's really important to be exploring these conversations right now and doing research on this right now, so we can actually have better data and better understanding about these concepts, because we're going to have to make some really great choices for the future, not just for ourselves right now, but for our children and for our children's children. And it's a really, really important conversation. So a lot of information, this is what we're really tracking, is in our biology. And there's no coincidence that our biology is as it needs to be, and it's unique for each of us. And we all have different things that we're interested in, different passions, different geniuses, different ways to be in flow, and different things that happen when we're in flow. And it's a really great conversation. So that's quite a big answer, Sophia, to a big question. But what does the future look like? The future looks pretty exciting, I think, if we can understand how different and unique we are, and that we all have a gift to share. But there's a reason that we're all here, and there's meaning and purpose, and can be meaning and purpose behind everything we do each and every day. And again, we're just trying to help people be aware of that. Just like we can for health now, people can be aware of their health and then make a choice. We're trying to help a bigger conversation, I guess, for humanity to be aware of why we're here, and then have a choice as to what you want to do with that. So it's a really exciting time. The future looks bright, in my opinion. There'll be a lot of things that change across the next few decades, that's for sure. But I think there's a lot of hope for a lot of people. There's certainly a lot of happiness around the corner for a lot of people. And I think we're just taking some really great steps now to understand more about that at its base level. And I look forward to keeping everyone informed as to what we find and what unfolds for that, so we can have some really great starting points to work from for those bigger conversations.
Thank you, Matt, for taking us into the depths of the future, a future that looks so bright, given everything that you mentioned, with really truly understanding how our body holds the key, and that our heart, our consciousness, our purpose, our passion, our meaning, everything that makes life worth living is really no different than the biochemistry that runs through us each and every day. So thank you so much for that beautiful message. And I hope everyone really takes that to heart and really understands how special and wonderful they are, and is happy to be alive at this moment for that reason, if not many others as well. One last question for you, Matt, that I would love to ask today is, you've mentioned so many wonderful messages throughout our time together, and I just want to give you the space once more here to ask, if you had the captured attention of all of the 7.5 billion people currently alive on this planet, what would that one message be that you would like to leave everyone with?
Well, the one message would certainly be a combination of everything that we've shared today. And I guess, first and foremost, you're different. Secondly, once you're aware that you're different, find out what's good for you. Find out who you are and what is good for you. Third, make a choice, whatever you want to choose, but you get to actually choose your life. You get to choose what happens with your life trajectory. You get to choose all the things that will change your health status at any point in time. You get to choose all the things that are going to change the way you think about the world. You get to choose all the things that are going to have you in a flow state, or have you experienced connection with meaning and purpose in your life. You get to choose all these things. So first and foremost, find out who you are and how different you are, become aware of that. And then just go ahead and choose whatever it is that you want to choose in your life, because you get to choose the life that you have. And I think that's a really, really important message for people to know, because it brings so much hope to all of us, no matter where we're at in our lives. If we're already on a great trajectory, we can get to choose to change that at any point in time. If we're in a space where we're not really happy in life, we get to understand there's so much hope for us to be able to change that. And if we're in a state where we're really struggling in life, just know that there's hope that everything is changeable, and we're now empowered with that. So that would be my message, Sophia, is that everybody, you're different, you're unique. Find out who you are, find out what's good for you, and then choose whatever you want to choose from there. And we hope that you can make some good choices and to be an incredible part of our team humanity, because we really believe that together, each and every one of us, if we can understand how to be really healthy and happy individually, then a bunch of individuals together is just what a community is, and a whole bunch of communities together is what the world is. So we really believe that together we can change the world, but it starts with us. So thank you all so much for being here, for dialing in, for listening to this conversation. And Sophia, I really appreciate you taking the time to interview us today, and hope that everyone's really, really enjoyed the Health Summit this year, and some really great speakers, some really great conversations. and I'm looking forward to what unfolds next. So thank you all so much. And thanks again, Sophia, for interviewing us today.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much for being here for this amazing conversation. And thank you to all of our speakers on the Personal Health Summit. We love you, and we hope you feel empowered to make the choices that serve you and your highest good.
Beautiful. And one last thing I will ask of everybody here, please share this with someone who you know this resonates with. This is the reason why we do this, is just to help spread the word, to help make people aware. That's it. This is a free summit. You can come along and listen to this whenever you need to listen to it, but please share this if this is something that there's a message that's shared from any of our speakers, our interviews, anything at all. If this resonates with you, please share it, because together we can change the awareness of people, change the consciousness of people in the collective, and we can make a difference in the world. So that's that'll be my final thoughts and final message. And once again, thank you all so much for dialing in, for listening to all our incredible speakers throughout this summit. And I hope that you got something from it. I hope you got what you needed. And I hope you can share this message with those loved ones around.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for joining us, for supporting this gathering of world experts, thought leaders, and innovators looking to change the course of the health and wellness of the human race, and for being empowered and actively committed to your own health in mind, body, and spirit. I'm Matt Riemann, and on behalf of all of us at the Personal Health Summit, we thank you for tuning in, and we wish you the utmost personal health and happiness in every day of your life.